Welcome to the Green Grind Podcast, where we discuss real experience, real struggles, and real business. My name is LeRoy Maines. I'm with Brilliant Porters Landscaping, and we have Kory Ballard with Perfect Cut Site Management and Ballard Innovative Products. As always, we have Kaz, who's the brains of this thing, getting it from our mouth to your ears and now eyes. Just a friendly reminder that the Green Grind is sponsored by Jobber as well as Hustler now. We did pick up a new sponsor last week, Hustler Lawnmowers. Grateful for their sponsorship and grateful for them to be on board with us. So thank you so much to Hustler for sponsoring us. Today, Kory and I are talking with Marvin Salcido.
You said it wrong.
Did I say it wrong already? Marvin Salcido. That's what I said, right?
Okay.
Yeah, Marvin Salcido. Marvin's the owner of Salcido Lawn and is a top 700 fastest growing U.S. business and Inc. 500 award winner. Marvin, welcome to the Green Grind. We're certainly glad to have you on our show today.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, Kory hooked up with Marvin. Out in Seattle? Is that correct?
No, I've seen. I think he bought some products from us way back, and then I follow his company, and I've seen him out at I think Quip Expo or GIE over the years, and.
Yes, sir. We've run across each other over at GIE a few times.
Yeah, and I see a lot of his trucks and his branding, and I think he's got some cool hot rods. I don't know. We'll get into that a little bit too, but I thought he'd be a great guest, and talk a little bit about his business and what he's got going on down there. And so we'll jump in here, and we certainly appreciate you taking a little time with us today, Marvin.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure.
Yes. Thanks so much, Marvin. So could you tell us just a little bit about you and your background so our listeners know who you are and kind of how you got your start a little bit, if you would, please?
All right. So a little bit about me. I have no formal education. I have no business background other than the School of Hard Knocks. I've kind of learned everything as I went. I tell people I have made every mistake that you can in business and some things more than once because I'm hard-headed like that. I've been in the landscape industry for 20 plus years. I've owned several multi-million-dollar landscape companies, and I actually restarted my landscape company 6 years ago. I was in a partnership that kind of went south, and me and my partner split and went separate ways, and I signed everything over to him. I took a little bitty book of business, and I left and started over and kind of rebuilt from there. And just poured the gas on the fire and grew like crazy. In the last 6 years, we've grown from, virtually nothing. I think I took about 150,000 in business to where we closed 2022 out right at 5 million in sales.
Nice. Well, I'm glad to hear that because we really worked hard this year on trying to get some guys at that next level, Marvin, because we've had a lot of, single owner operators on, and those are great stories and inspiring stories. But this year, one of the things that we wanted to commit to was trying to find some guys that are at the $2, $3, $5 million mark, to inspire our listeners a little bit to how they get there, because, it's great to hear those small operator stories, and a lot of our listeners are probably in that range. And as you know, I've thrown this out there, I think 86% of the companies in the U.S., lawn care companies, do less than $1 million. So most companies are underneath that $1 million range and have less than 10 employees. And so we're glad to have you on so you can talk about how, what it took to get from restarting up to 5 million. But, you didn't start from, you started from scratch business-wise, but you started with a lot of experience. And as you mentioned,
yes, sir,
things you did poorly. And, one of the things you mentioned, I just made a note, was partnership. We get that question so much.
I wrote that down as well. What busted up the partnership?
Because we talk to a lot of guys on here that, and I get a lot of questions, about partnerships. Hey, me and my buddy, man, we get along, and he's a great landscaper, and I'm a great business guy, and we had a few beers, and we're going into business together. And so I always really caution guys on that and making sure that, it's like a marriage. What type of partnership is it going to be? What roles, what does each guy bring to the table? And what do those roles look like? Because, and I'm going to ask you to speak on it a little bit. Business changes. I had a business partner and still do for 25 years, and it worked really, really well. Him and I were on the same page, and I can tell you we probably had less than 5 major disputes over 20-some years, but that's not typically the case because life changes, and one guy has kids, and next thing the guy wants to leave at 4, and one guy's working more, and he thinks he should be paid less and more, and it just gets really squirrely. Can you speak a little bit on partnerships? I know you said yours, you guys, I don't know how it ended, but a little bit on partnerships and any advice or maybe war stories from that experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So just real quick to talk on how it ended. Basically, we haven't spoken in 6 years, so that just kind of tells you how that ended.
Not well.
Other than we run across each other occasionally at Home Depot or whatever, and we're cordial to each other and say hi, and what go on our separate ways. But in my experience, partnerships either really work or they really don't. And obviously you've had a fabulous partnership for 25 plus years, and that's awesome. I wish mine would have ended up that way, but it didn't. You never talk to anybody, or at least I haven't, that they say, oh, my partner's okay. They either love them or they hate them. And that's just kind of how it is. I know that going into partnerships, you have to be extremely, extremely clear up front about what the roles are going to be for each person. And then as business changes, you need to renegotiate that, because, hey, life is not black and white. Business is not black and white. There is a lot of gray, and things change as you grow and as the business grows. And so you have to figure that stuff out as you come across it, or before you get into it, because otherwise what happens is you get into it and one partner starts working more than the other partner, and there becomes resentment starts to grow. And if you don't talk about it and work through it, then it ends up as a very bad partnership. When you're going into partnership, there's 5 things that you really, really need to discuss before you sign that bottom line and you become partners. And I call it the 5 Ds. That's death, disability, disinterest, drugs, and divorce. What do you do if your partner does one of those 5 things? What if he dies? Suddenly you're in partnership with that guy's wife, who you never agreed to be in partnership with. What if they become disabled and they're no longer able to work? How are you going to overcome that? What happens? Do you buy him out? You have a clause in place that says that you can buy him out. That is key to figure out before it happens. What do you happen if your partner just suddenly doesn't want to do it anymore? They're just done. They're disinterested. What do you do at that point? Kind of going to be the same thing as if they become disabled or if they die. You have to have a clause in place where you can buy them out. And how do you figure out those market shares? What is their the cost for their stock of the business? Because you've got to have some sort of formula in place to be able to buy that out. What happens if your partner becomes addicted to cocaine or meth or whatever? What do you do? You need to have something in place where you can force your partner out of the business because they're no longer aligned with your values. And then what happens if they get divorced? Suddenly, you now have 2 partners instead of 1. And one of them you may have never met and have no relationship with, and now they're half owner of that guy's percentage. What do you do? And these are discussions that need to be done up front, rather than, hey, they're my best friend, we'll figure it out. We've always been friends. No. Hey, when I went into partnership, he was my best friend. When I left, it ended very badly, and he wanted nothing to do with me. Right. And we tried. I tried to make it work. I tried to salvage the business, salvage the relationship, and at the very end of it, it was best for me and my family for me to walk away and start over, which is what I did. And I signed, even though I was 70% owner and I could have forced him out of the business, it was better for me and my family to just sign it over to him and walk away.
Nice.
And well, that's what I did.
You articulated that really, really well. And I'll just speak on that a little bit before we get into your business, because I think there's a ton of value there. I mean, I can tell you that with Matt and I, in the very beginning, he wasn't a business partner, and then he did with some Phantom stock, and he bought in. But one of the things we did very well is, we communicated a lot. And when there were issues, instead of just putting them aside, and then you blow up over something that really isn't the main issue. You blow up over something else crazy, yeah. But the other thing, it's all the underlying shit that's building up.
Absolutely.
There was numerous times, 50 times, 100 times, where we just say, hey, man, I got to have coffee with you Monday. And we just sit down and go, hey, what's going on, man? I'm frustrated. I feel like you're not engaged, or I'm not engaged, or I don't like the way this is going. And we had to have those tough conversations, and just very honest, level-headed conversations. And one of the other things that you mentioned, and we had this in place from very early on, is We had the business evaluated every 2 years, and we had buy-sell agreements in there. And for the exact reason you said, if something were to happen, Matt was a mountain climber, I ride motorcycles, do all kinds of crazy stuff as well. If something were to happen to me, there was a predetermined price, and there was a buy-sell policy in there that we had insurance on, and my wife had already signed off to agree to sell. Because, again, if you don't have those, and all of a sudden the wife says, hey, something happened to my husband, she shows up at the office Monday, and she thinks you're the new business partner, and you're like, whoa, I didn't fucking sign up for that. So those are, and they're not that complicated. You put in a disability policy, you put in a death policy, just a simple term policy for whatever value you need to have in there. Because one thing, if you really have a good partnership and you lose your partner, so now you've lost your business partner, now you got to buy out the wife with money you maybe don't have. Yeah. And so those are conversations and things that we did a really good job. Luckily, none of that stuff ever happened to us, but we also talked about disability. Your buddy, your business partner's laying in a hospital bed and he no longer can do his function at work. What's that look like?
What do you do?
And again, as you mentioned, addiction, if somebody all of a sudden decides they're disinterested, or maybe they pick up a hobby of gambling and drinking and drugging and whatever they're doing, and you're like, holy shit, that's not what I signed up for, buddy.
And it happens every single day.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
Every day.
Yeah, well, I don't think most people think about that, though. They just think about, how rich we're going to be when we start mowing grass and doing these types of things. And
we're best friends, and we get along. We always get along. But, again, I can tell you.
Until you don't.
In our business, though, life changed a lot. Again, one person starts having children, and they want to take off at 4, and one guy's staying until 8, and he's like, and then those resentments start building. I'm thinking, where the fuck's Matt? And then later he's thinking, where the fuck's Kory?
Well, and also I think when you put money involved in the middle of it, that changes the relationship regardless of whether you're best friends or not.
Yeah.
And especially when you're there a long time and there's a lot of money involved, that really changes it.
Yeah, I'll just add one more thing to that, and we'll get in. You also, I think, need to understand what's their appetite for risk, debt. Who decides? You want 3 new trucks, and your buddy wants to pick up. Your business partner doesn't want to spend any money, and you got to know what is their appetite for capital, reinvesting in the business. What is their desired salary? All of a sudden you have a good year, you got some money sitting, and your partner says, well, I'd like to take distributions. And you said, whoa, I thought we were reinvesting in the business. I thought we were going to buy some new equipment. Yeah. I thought we were going to do some marketing. Yeah, I really need some cash. We're going on a vacation. You're like, whoa. So you really have to understand there's so many aspects in a partnership you have to understand, and you have to have tough conversations. And we're getting on a whole different subject, but man, that partnership, it comes up so much. And I'm glad that what you said made a ton of sense, Marvin. I just encourage our listeners, if you're thinking about going into business with somebody, make sure you understand exactly how that arrangement works, because life changes, business changes. And I've even heard of some good ones where one guy has all the experience, one guy just has the cash, right? And then the business grows, and he's like, well, this guy is getting all the money. And I'm like, well, yeah, but he put all the money up in the first place because you couldn't get going. And now you're mad that he's he's getting paid back for his risk.
He's reaping his reward.
Yeah, but he doesn't work in the business. I know, but that's what you signed up for. Remember, you didn't have any cash. He put all the money in. Well, he's getting paid, he's not here. I know, that's what you signed up for.
Right, yeah.
And so, roles and responsibilities. And Matt and I did that as our business changed. Even about 7 or 8 years ago, we sat down and had to really divide our roles in our business. And I've mentioned this numerous times on the podcast, but people would come to me and ask me a question. I'd say, hey, you got to go talk to Matt. And they're like, you can't answer my question? No, I could, but we agreed that sales was running through Matt and operations is running through me. So if you've got a sales question, you have to go to Matt. Well, I don't understand why you can't answer my question. Because we agreed.
And it's okay to renegotiate that.
Yeah.
You should treat a business partnership like you treat a marriage. My marriage looks very different now than it did 20 years ago or 20 plus years ago when we got married. We didn't have no kids, no responsibilities, no nothing. And, life has changed throughout the years. And my wife and I, we sit down quite often and like, okay, we need to figure this out because this ain't working anymore. How are we going to make this work? And that's what you did with your partner. You sat down and you had those conversations and you renegotiated. And it's okay to do that. And I think some people think, well, we made that agreement at the very beginning. It's like that forever. Life isn't that black and white. Sometimes you have to renegotiate, and life changes, business changes. you need to ebb and flow with it.
Awesome stuff. Well, let's get into your business. You mentioned that you're at 5 million, Marvin. What services are you guys offering down there? You're in Texas, so what services does your company offer today?
So we are full service: lawn maintenance, fertilization, weed control, irrigation, design, install, repair, landscaping design, install, repair, flower bed maintenance, and Christmas lighting.
Nice.
And also with our irrigation, we also do landscape lighting.
Nice. Okay.
So a little bit of everything. How many employees do you have right now?
During the growing season, we'll have between 65 and 70 employees.
Well, you got a nice group there. I saw a picture, and you had a whole nice team of people in front of some trucks, and we're going to get into branding a little bit as well. And how did you, one of the questions people are going to think, how in 6 years you went from kind of zero to, to a $5 million company. Another one, is it mainly residential, Marvin, or are you guys residential and commercial mix?
No, we're a good mix of residential and commercial.
Okay, so how'd you get there? What did you do to get that phone to ring? What type of marketing? How did you get that type of growth that quickly?
Lots and lots of advertising. Mm-hmm. And I tell people that I forced my way into the market. And how we did, so backing up, 6 years ago, a little over 6 years ago when I started over, I passed one of my trucks on the road, and my guys called me and they said, "Hey, did you see us? We were waving at you." And I was like, "No, I didn't see y'all. Sorry, guys." And it triggered something in my head. If I don't recognize my own truck on the road, how is anybody else going to recognize and see us and call us? And I literally canceled my afternoon. I went straight to the paint store and I said, "Let me see your color book." And I went and I flipped through the book, and the first color that jumped out and slapped me in the face, I said, "I want that color right there." I ordered enough paint to paint my truck, and 2 weeks later, we had it stripped down, sanded down, and ready to paint. I painted the truck. And I wanted to stand out, and that's how we got the color Salcido Green. It's a color that stands out. I mean, you literally can see our trucks from a mile away. And I wanted something that stood out in our market. And then we did tons and tons and tons of advertising, Facebook videos. I did content marketing. We sponsored all kinds of events and car shows and kids' school, baseball teams, and any way and every way I could get my name out into the market, we did, because I was starting all the way over, and I wanted to become a household name. And I pissed off a lot of landscapers in my market, and they would stop me in Lowe's and Home Depot and wherever they saw me, and they'd be like, "Dude, what the crap are you doing? Like, how have you grown so big so fast?" We grew so fast. There's actually a rumor going around town that I'm part of the Mexican mafia. That's how I had the capital to grow as fast as I did. And it's none of that. It's just, you know what? I'm a smart business guy. I got out there and I hustled and I made it happen. I mean, I remember days that I'm passing out flyers. I'm out there. I'm going door to door, passing out flyers. I'm knocking doors, doing door to door sales. Any way, in every way possible to get our name out, I got our name out into the market, and that's how we grew the way that we did. And then we started doing, making sure that everything matched, all our trucks, mm-hmm. our shirts, everything, because and now people associate that green with us. I can't tell you how many times I'm getting tagged on different vehicles on Facebook and stuff like that are green, that, "Dude, this looks just like yours." And you know what? Because we've done that good of marketing with that color, we did that brand marketing. Now everybody associates that color with us. Matter of fact, this most recent truck I bought a 1948 Ford. I went to a conference. I did not have my name on the side of the truck, nothing. I just showed up, parked, and was parked in front of the conference. And I can't tell you how many people came up to me and asked me, "Is that your truck outside?" Because they associated that color with me and with our business. And so, I mean, just in short, that's what we did. I mean, tons and tons and tons of marketing.
Yeah, so many questions there, because I can tell you that I had that down in my questions because I love your brand of color. If you follow Perfect Cut or any of our listeners, every truck is blue. And I made that decision from day one. And to the point now where they don't even say Perfect Cut on them anymore. They're blue. They've got our Power P on the door and the 2 stripes. We've branded so well that when you see a blue truck, you just know who it is. And that was something that was a non-negotiable for me. I can tell you how many meetings we've had where some team members, including one of our CFOs, said, "You know how much money we could save if our trucks were white?" And I said, "It's a non-negotiable. That's not who we are. Our trucks are blue."
But you'll look like every other landscaper out there, and you won't stand out at all.
Yeah.
You'll look like anybody and everybody else.
LeRoy, your trucks are white, buddy.
Well, they're white, but they've got some green on them.
I know you've done a much better job.
Well, we did it white for that reason, because it's so difficult to get those colors, and just like you said, Marvin, that green, we have the green in our logo, and I can't tell you the number of times that we get something back and that green is not the right green. Well, it's green, but it's not the right green. Yeah, and we're very, very specific about that, and we put that green in there, and we've done that. I mean, you can see it in our table, and it's everywhere, and that's just how we do it. But when we do those types of things, we want to make sure that's the right color. I'm sure just like your blue, it's not a baby blue, it's not a royal, it's the blue, and I'm sure, Marvin, yours is the same thing with that green.
Oh yeah.
It's green. Well, it's not green. It's not the Salcido green.
Yeah,
damn it. I want the green.
We got a truck back numerous times. We got a truck back from the paint shop, and I don't know how we got off, because we've used almost the same paint shop forever, but we had to switch to for our bigger trucks, we had to go to a different like a semi paint shop. Because they couldn't get in. They came back and they were not the right blue, and I'm telling you what, and they wouldn't refund. They're like, "No, that's as close." And everyone's like, "Dude, they're pretty close." And I'm like, "No,
it's not the same.
It's not." So now we're navy. We're Hams blue. That's the blue. It's Corvette Hams blue. That's the blue I picked from day one from a '79 Chevy. That's the color, and it was like they're pretty freaking close. Now, unfortunately, over the years, a lot of our management vehicles are not the exact blue. We've had to negotiate a little bit with that. Ford came out with the color that was pretty close. We have a bunch of Toyota Priuses that were pretty close. But our work trucks, every truck that's out in the field is the exact color blue.
Yeah.
And that's a non-negotiable. And it's a great branding. And to your point, I say that all the time when I talk about guys when they're out in these white trucks. And I don't care what color they are, but they don't even have a logo. You got to stand out. I mean, it doesn't mean you can't have a white truck, but you better have a logo on your vehicle. It better be clear who you are, what you do. Your people need to be in uniform. All of our uniforms are the same. I mean, those things matter. All that shit matters.
Yeah,
and
it does.
Especially when if you want to be a leader in the industry and if you want to win, that's what it takes.
Well, and not only that, if you look at and you think of the big brown trucks. Who drives the big brown trucks? Yeah. Everybody knows that. And if
UPS could just take their logo off.
They could very, very easily. But that's a great way to think of those types of things. And if you do that and you have, we get all the time. Well, we saw your trucks here. We saw your trucks there. You guys are huge. We're not that big. We have 12 to 14 trucks on the road at any given time, and probably the same thing for you guys, Marvin. But when you see those green trucks, it's very recognizable, and people start to see them over and over and over again, and that just builds the brand of your company. And you do that 3, 4, 5, 6 years in a row, people get to know who you are.
Yeah, they know where you're at in the neighborhood. Yeah. I remember when we were small, and people used to say, "Man, how many trucks do you have? I see your trucks everywhere." The truth is, we didn't have that many trucks. The difference is, you passed 5 white trucks in that landscape trucks, and then the one blue one went by you, and they saw it. So yeah, great. I mean, branding is so important. When you were starting back up, I know you're not a part of the Mexican mafia, I don't think, but when you were pouring all that money in, because a lot of guys say that too. Like, I hear what you're saying, but I don't have the capital to do all those things. And I talk to guys, man. You don't have to spend a crazy amount of money. You can do Facebook stuff. You can start networking. You can start getting involved with kids' little league, church. There's a million things you can do. And I'm like, you just got to get out and talk to people. And so when you were hammering that, were you spending a crazy amount of money, or was it just a combination of everything? And then a second part of that is, what did you find worked best, or do you even know? Was it just all of it?
So when I first started out, 6 years and 3 months, 4 months ago, whatever it was, I bootstrapped it. I mean, as cheap as possible. I mean, my income dropped drastically. I had to, I was literally living off of credit cards trying to make this happen. And I told my wife, I said, "Look, babe, the next 3 years is going to suck." I said, "But bear with me. I'm going to make it happen." And then I got out there and I went as cheap as possible as I possibly could. I did whatever was cheap or whatever was free. Lots of flyers, lots of door knocking, just easy way, guerrilla marketing to get our name out there. And as I grew, I increased our budget for marketing. Sure. I started doing Facebook ads, and content marketing was amazing for us on Facebook, especially, and just giving away free tips. Hey, here's how you're going to do it. If you're going to do this, you want to do this yourself, here's the right way to do it, so you don't screw your yard up. Or if you want to do Christmas lighting, here's how the pros do it. And you give them 90% of the information. Don't give away your secret sauce. Give them 90%. And then, just throw the easy tagline out there. If you don't want to mess with it yourself and you want a free quote, give us a call. That was my sell. That was my sales pitch. And we picked up hundreds and hundreds of clients from doing that.
That's awesome.
I remember one particular month, I picked up 100 brand new individual clients from a video called Weed and Feed Sucks. And all I did was just explain how the weed and feed that you buy from the big box stores is not targeting your weed control. It's a blanket, just hopefully will kill most of it. But it's not what the pros use. The pros don't use weed and feed. We do pre-emergent, and then we target the specific broadleaves and the grassy weeds that are in your yard. If we just throw down a bunch of blanket herbicide, yeah, I'm going to kill off a bunch of it, but I may not kill the thing that's really bugging you. I had one lady who she really wanted to get rid of sticker burrs in her yard. And I told her, I said, look, she's like, I've been putting down weed and feed. It's not working. I said, it's never going to work. Mm-hmm. You have to do a pre-emergent, and you have to kill those sticker burrs before they start growing. If you let us start this coming winter, let us put down the pre-emergent, we're going to get rid of them. And she did. And she's been a client for years and years now. But I solved her specific problem in a very specific way. And we've picked up tons and tons of clients just through target marketing. I mean, oh Lord, completely lost that thought. But just giving content marketing, but just giving away free knowledge.
Yeah,
and
I like
it's
that.
Cheap.
Well,
it's super cheap. It costs nothing for you to give away that knowledge. Boost it, throw $15 after it, $30 after it. That doesn't cost much. And then as I started to gain traction with those, and we had hundreds of people sharing them and commenting on our videos, how can I do this myself? And I'd send them the links. I'm giving this information away. But it did several things. One, it pushed our content, put us in front of a bunch of people in our market. And then it set us up as a market leader, as a known leader in our market for what we do. And so, yeah, there's going to be a whole group of DIYers. They'll never be my target client. They'll never call us for anything. But I wanted to show them how to do it the right way. But you know what? They have a lot of friends. Mm-hmm. And their friends are never going to do it themselves. And they say, hey, can you do this for me? I can't. But you know what? There's this guy that sent me that I saw his video on Facebook. They drive the green trucks around town. He's who you need to call, because you know what? They know what they're doing. They told me how to do it. It worked for me. This is the guy you need to use. And it's free or super cheap. And it sets you up as a leader in your market for knowing what you do.
Yeah, I like that. It's the soft sale. It's like, we're here to help. We're here to help our community. We're here to help those in the community. But if you don't want to do it yourself, here's option B, and we're here for you. I like that a lot. We've changed our marketing a lot where we don't even really talk about our services anymore. We focus on the great people that we have, which is kind of the same thing. We're showing you these great people that work for us, and they're happy. But what we're doing is we're telling you a story about a company that cares about their people, which also comes out, and we're going to do a great job for you. We don't do much residential anymore, just a few service lines, but we started changing. Like, we're not pitchy anymore. We're not trying to always sell you something. We're trying to help you. Like, we do the same thing. Like, now's the proper time to aerate and overseed. Now's the time to do some fall pruning. Now's the time to do winter pruning if you've got oaks or whatever it may be. And when we started changing that, and you start being a leader in the community, it just changes the perception versus everything that you throw out there. It's like you're trying to sell something. And so when you start helping people, and we do the same thing at Ballard in this podcast and all these things, I want to be a part of the community. I want to elevate the industry. If you want to buy our products, great. If you don't, that's cool too. But we're trying to elevate the industry. And if you like what we do and you feel like we've got something that might help your business, great. If you don't, that's cool too. But we're putting in a lot of energy to try to help the industry and get guys professional and grow their companies and learn how to hire great people, keep great people. And yeah, I mean, I love what you said there.
Yeah. So speaking of people, Marvin, one of the things, obviously you don't go from where you were at to $5 million without good people. What are some of the great hiring techniques, recruiting strategies that you've used? And then also, you don't get that size by just flipping employees. What are you guys using that are keeping and retaining those people in your organization?
So there's two questions there.
Yes, sir.
One, how do we keep good employees? Well, we treat them right.
Mm-hmm.
We treat them like they're humans. Obviously life happens. There's sometimes people are going to be out beyond their allotted days worth of work. Kids are going to get sick. Their family members, mom's going to die, grandma's going to die, whatever. Life happens. And we do our best to actually work with our guys and make it, to where they can take off and still have a job to come back to.
Mm-hmm.
If we're able to financially to help them, we've done that. We had one guy who he ended up getting crazy sick, some crazy illness, and he was out for months. And we would send him groceries and help him out, and we paid him well beyond his vacation time, and just to help him out along the way, so that his family could survive, and he could survive beyond the illness. And he ended up making a recovery, and he's back today. And we've done that time after time after time. I'm a thorough believer that if you take care of your employees, they're going to take care of your customers,
Mm-hmm.
take care of your clients.
Sure. Absolutely.
And, we've done everything possible to take care of our people. I'm a thorough believer of Taco Tuesday. I don't do it every Tuesday, but we provide, we bring in a taco truck, and we'll do breakfast, once a quarter or whatever, and feed everybody and just have fun. We do company outings, and we pay for everything. We do vacation for everybody that works for us. Not just, I used to years ago, it was just management and above,
Mm-hmm.
or career leaders and above
Yep.
that could earn a vacation. Now every person that works for me can earn vacation time. We offer 401k, sick time, health insurance, dental, all of those things to become not just a job. We want people to make this a career. And, we've done our best to make it a great place. And then we treat people the way that I would want to be treated. They're not, I tell people that they don't work for me, they work with me.
Absolutely.
They're not just a cog in my widget. They're actual humans, and there's no possible way I could do this without them.
Yeah, that's great stuff, and we'll get to hiring in a second. But I mean, those are all the things that we do at Perfect Cut. I know, LeRoy, you're trying to implement those things. It makes a huge difference, and we talk a lot about we're trying to do. We offer careers, not jobs. Same deal. We offer vacation pay, 401k, healthcare. I know you got to get to a certain size, guys, to do that, but even when we weren't at that size, and we treated everybody with respect. When we see somebody with their head down, we want to find out what's going on, knuckle bump, how can we help you today? People have stuff going on. Some guys are living paycheck to paycheck. They're having trouble at home, guys and gals. We have a lot of females on our team as well, but we are loving on our people now more than we ever have. We treat them with respect. I mean, if they've got issues, we just constantly are working with our people on a level that we never used to as much. I mean, now it's just, we've created a completely different culture, and our turnover rate's the lowest it's ever been. And so, that stuff helps. And, you've got to take care of your people. Well,
the culture, sorry to cut you off there. The culture has to be high at this point in everybody's business, I believe.
Yeah, they can work anywhere.
Well, they can work anywhere, and most guys are going to. If it's money that they're after, somebody else will pay them more, regardless of what you're paying them. So if they're not, if something else other than money motivates them, and that's, most people are motivated by something other than money, I truly believe, you've got to give them a reason to stay in your organization. And 100%. Those are the types of things that they have to have. Absolutely.
Culture, man. We beat on that so much because we talk about that, and I hate to always repeat myself, but I did a speech out at Mike Andy's deal, and the reason people work at companies, money is it never makes the top 5. It's typically 7th or 8th, and it's not about money. Now, they have to be compensated fairly, and they want to feel like they're
appropriately.
Yeah, but at the same time, if a guy leaves your company for $1 an hour more, there's something wrong inside your organization, I believe. Now, sometimes you just have that guy that says, he's living paycheck to paycheck, and somebody offers him $2 an hour more, and he starts thinking, oh man, I can make another 80 or $100 a week. And sometimes those guys have to go. And then they, if they do the right thing and they put their 2 weeks in and they do it with some respect, and we usually sometimes we let those guys come back. And I tell you, they're sometimes the best advocate, because when they leave and then they come back, and then some guys like, yeah, I'm thinking about going over to Joe's Lawn Care. It's like, don't do it. I tried. Like, man, it's so good here. And so we want to give them all the reasons to stay. We do a lot of stuff that you mentioned, pancake breakfasts. We bring a truck in and does food trucks. We do our safety meeting tomorrow morning, where we'll have donuts, and we do a safety meeting, and everybody, we preach our core values. Everybody says them. I mean, we do a lot of stuff to make sure people know that they're a part of a great team. And I'm really tired of hearing that nobody wants to work. Everybody's lazy. There's no work ethic anymore. It's tough, but they're out there. Great people are out there.
Yeah. There's been a period of time in the last 2 years or so, it's been difficult to find employees. It legitimately has, nationwide.
Yep.
But even with that, I have not lost my core group of guys. I say guys and girls. They haven't gone anywhere because they love working for us. We've had people who've offered them more money and they refuse to go because they love our culture. And I can't tell you how many people that I have fired who begged to come back because our culture is that good. I remember one of our managers that I fired for a very, very legitimate reason, who still raves about us, even though I fired him, because of our culture.
Right.
And, when you build your culture up, that's one of the biggest draws for new employees. And that goes to answer your other question, is how do we find these employees? Our biggest draw for employees is our culture, and just referrals. That is always our number one, is, hey, do you have anybody that wants to come and work for us? Tell your friends. We offer referral bonuses, and then bring your friends along, because who doesn't want to work with your friends? I mean, I do. You're with these people a third of your life. Why not enjoy who you're working with? And so that's our biggest draw. And then we advertise. We actually use as we've grown, we use a hiring company to help us find employees. We use a company called Hire Who, and then they help source the employees. They send them our way. Of course, they still have to go through the whole interview process and everything like that, but they help narrow down that group of candidates and find us the best that's out there and send those our way.
Sure. I love the idea of the guys that work for you now, having them bring people in, because they're not going to bring in their buddy that's a slouch that doesn't want to work and won't show up to work. They're always bringing in the good guys typically that they want to. Yeah. And we just celebrated an 8-year anniversary today in our company. And, this guy brought in a younger kid that, he's like, this guy needs a job. And, so we interview him, and we always interview early, 7:30 in the morning, just to make sure that they're able to get up and make it to work. And the kid showed up, and, firm handshake, and we're going to hire him. And it's just those people inside your organization will always find you good people if you ask them, typically.
Yeah. That's our number. I've mentioned it every time. Our number one hiring is referrals. And just like you'd mentioned, Marvin, we do a sign-on bonus. We do a referral bonus. So if you bring somebody on, you can get $500. That person that comes on can get $500. Now that gets paid over a certain amount of time. They got to stay on. They don't get it day one, and the guy quits day 3. But we
do. We require them to be here 90 days.
90 days.
Yeah,
it's the same deal with us. So we do 90 days, but both people get it. And we've had guys that have brought in 3 people. They get a $1,500 as long as they stay there 90 days and don't have any write-ups for conduct or things like that. But our number one recruiter is our people. And because people that work for us hang out with like people. They hang out with guys doing construction and roofing and concrete and maybe lawn care. And they're like, hey, man, I'm working over at Perfect Cut. There's opportunity. We're growing. They treat me well. We got 401k. We're full time. We keep all of our people on in the winter. We're in a little different region than you, but we keep all of our people on in the winter. Most lawn care landscape companies lay people off, so there's a lot of draw there. But man, our number one recruiter from day one has always been our own people, and that's a testament for a good company.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Marvin, with the significant growth that you've had, what have you implemented that helped grow your business? Have you had any key hires that along the way that have helped grow it? Any software that you've thrown in that have helped grow your company? What are some good strategies that you had that really set your business aside and really helped you grow?
So a good CRM is absolutely key.
100%.
15 years ago, I used to do everything on an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, been there.
And man, so inefficient. It would take me like 3 hours every night to make sure the schedule was right. And it was an absolute nightmare. And then we switched over. We started using in 2012 with my other company. We started using Service Autopilot,
Yep.
and I've been using them ever since. So a key or a good CRM is absolutely key. Whoever it is, if it's Jobber, if it's Service Titan, whoever you want to use, a good CRM is absolutely key. And then using automations, we do as much as we can in automating. We have automatic follow-ups that send out emails and, hey, just wanted to see you haven't responded to our quote. Just did you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything like that? I can tell you how many people have reached out to us and bought from us because they said you were the only ones who responded, who followed up with me.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't even me. It was an automation that I had
Right.
set up years ago that followed up for me. And that alone is closing jobs for me. And then as we grew, putting a quality control person in place has been absolutely key. I bought out a company, and I've bought out multiple companies. In my lifetime, I've bought over 20 companies. But one of the companies that I've bought out most recently, I bought them out 5 years ago. I kept the owner on. And I did a 3-year work contract with him just to do quality control and stuff like that. And after our 3 years was up, he came back and he's like, I still want to work. He's an older guy. He's in his 80s. And he's great with the clients. He knows the industry. He knows what to look for. And he has been one of the best hires because he goes out, he meets with the clients, and he quality controls what we're doing. And then he rates it on 3 different ways. 1, this is absolutely urgent. The guy's screwed up. We need to get back out. We need to fix it today. 2, we need to fix it next time we're in the area. Or 3, you know what? Just next time we're here, we need to address this. And that has been massive with our company as we've grown. And I actually have 2 quality control guys, 3 quality control guys now, and 2 of the guys are field supervisors, but they double as quality control. Another was from that same company. He had a field supervisor that I hired on as my operations manager, still with me today. It's been 5 years now, I believe. And he loves it. He's out there every day. He actually helps run the day-to-day of the business. I have very little to do with the company anymore because I've taken a step back and I've gone out and I've pursued other ventures. I bought a mechanic shop a year ago. I've actually ventured into some real estate and some business coaching, and so I've kind of branched out from there. But and then a good office manager. But what I encourage people to do as they grow is hire out the things that you don't like to do, whatever that is. If you hate the office side of things, make one of your first key hires an office manager. Or if you love the office side of things, make your first key hire an operations manager. Get somebody who's going to push that work one way or the other because you don't like doing it. If you wake up in the morning and you dread doing that, hire somebody to do it for you.
Yeah, we talk a lot about that. Yeah. Understanding exactly as a business owner, even as a small company, what are you best at? Where do you fit best in your company? If you're the best sales guy, then do sales. If you're if you're the best operations guy, do operations. But a lot of times these small business owners, they're bogged down in admin work, and so they're not out doing sales calls. And you can hire somebody to do the admin, and don't push that off on somebody that hates it or your wife. But figure out what are you best at, where do you bring the most value to your company, and then focus on that and be great at it. And then, that's my deal. I have to hire really good people around me. I know what I'm good at, and I know what I suck at, and I try to stay out of it. The shit that I'm at, I fuck up everything. I mean, I'm bouncing off the wall, but I got to surround myself with really good people that can do all the detail work, because that's not where I'm good. I'm not good at that. So you've got to be, and you just got to be really honest with yourself. What am I good at, and what kind of skills? And I'm still old school. I say this a lot, but write down, what am I good at? What are the things that are bogging me down? And what do I want to, where can I pass this off? And do we have anybody on our current team that would be good at this? And if not, what do I need to hire? What skill set would they have? Who do I need to really help take us to the next level? And if you're a small person, small company, sometimes it's just a 20 an hour. Maybe it's somebody that just can do your billing, your AR, your AP. Just maybe it's 20 hours a week, and I hear a lot, I just can't afford them. I'm like, but think of how much more sales. I know. I said, yeah. But if you could go out and sell or work on operations and dial in your quality control and the processes and get your teams more efficient, and you're not in the office dicking around with payables and receivables and fighting through receipts and bullshit, you can pay that person, I promise you.
The right hire should have a zero cost basis to you because they pay for themselves.
Yep.
I hated answering the phones. And so I hired a phone company to answer every one of my calls. When I started over, I hired a company called Call Boss, and they answered every one of my phone calls. They actually helped me put my quotes together. They sent out my estimates for me. And it saved me so much time. It allowed me time to be able to focus on my business and work on my business rather than be bogged down and work in my business. And so I offloaded all the stuff I hated doing. I hate working with the books. I hired a bookkeeper, and I offloaded all the stuff that I did not like doing. And then I focused on what only I could do. And then, ultimately as a business owner, that's your ideal goal, is to offload all that stuff and do what only you can do as the business owner, and then hire somebody to do everything else.
Yeah, it always seems like, too, when you hire that person, you're like, why didn't I hire them 6 months ago, a year ago?
Every time.
Because you can afford them, because you're actually working on your business rather than in your business and being bogged down with that crap like we talked about.
Numerous times, I can tell you, every time we've hired somebody, I can't think of one bad example where we get somebody in place and we're like, what the fuck were we doing before? What were we doing before they started?
Why didn't I do this?
Why did I wait so long? It's almost like when you fire somebody that's cancer in your organization, and you should have done it for 2 years, and you finally get rid of them, you always go, why did I wait so long? But it's fear, and who's going to do it?
I've had guys come up to me and thank me for firing somebody.
Yeah.
And then the stories come out. This guy did this, and they were doing that. I'm like, why the crap weren't you telling me? I ain't no snitch.
Yeah.
Snitches get stitches is what they say.
That's right.
So on the other side of that, Marvin, we both know here that, or all three of us know, that you don't get to $5 million without some struggles. What are some of the struggles that you've had along the way? Some of those big struggles. Our tagline is real struggles in this thing. Yeah. And let's talk about those a little bit. What are you seeing, and what did you hit along the way that's like, oh man, how are we going to get past this?
So, there's the obvious, money problems. Scaling that fast is expensive.
For sure.
We didn't grow just organically. I bought out several companies along the way. I've bought out several of my largest competitors, and I've done it strategically so that I can grow. I did that for I could have grown that fast or grown that big organically and just through my own marketing and everything, but I only have so much time on this earth, and time is the most expensive commodity that's out there. And I'm buying their time. They spent years and years growing their business. I bought out their time, and now I've saved myself 5 years, 6 years, however much time. But super expensive. So there's been a lot of sleepless nights and trying to juggle money and trying to get bills paid. And the first one to not get paid is myself. There's been multiple times where I did not take a paycheck so I can make sure that my guys got paid, or the IRS or sales tax or whatever else got paid. Beyond that, growing that fast is there's massive quality issues. We have had to deal with quality constantly over the last 5 years. We are solving the problem as we go, but when you scale and you grow 100% in a year, that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as big of a deal when you go from 100,000 to 200,000, but when you go from 1 million to 2 million to 3 million in consecutive years or even less, that's a lot. I think we went from 1.2 million to 4.2 in 1 year. And, there was massive quality issues that we dealt with that year. And just having people out there and the complaints and making sure, we kissed a lot of butt, apologizing to clients. But you know what? We stand behind our work, and we went out there and we made it right. And, I think those are the biggest issues that we have faced along the way. But, like I said before, we stand behind our work, and we've made it right with our clients as much as we possibly can every single time.
Right, that's good stuff, because we scaled at that same level for many, many years, and it was getting a little crazy. And we also bought several small companies along the way. And I can tell you, anytime we look at an acquisition, the thing that we look at is the people. We're not really that interested in the accounts. I don't give a shit about the equipment. The equipment means very little. Most of the time, we don't want the assets.
Most of the time, you replace it anyway.
Yeah, I don't want the assets anyways. But the thing that you've kind of said and mentioned to how the people that you have with you today, but when we look at buying a company, sometimes they're small, sometimes they're medium. We look at their people. Like we get a team of 6, 8, 10 people with a lot of experience, and then we want to interview those people as well. And do they fit into our core values? How are they going to fit into the company? But a lot of those people are with us today, and as we bought out some of those companies, again, to your point, we've kept on the owner and we put them in a role that they're really good at. I can think of, we bought out a floral company, and she was with us for 17 years, I think, 16 years. She was amazing at what she did. She was terrible at bookkeeping, terrible at billing, terrible at hiring. So we said, Lisa, we're going to let you do exactly what you're great at, and we're going to handle all the other bullshit. And she flourished. I mean, we grew our floral department tenfold, and she was amazing. She just retired 2 years ago. But when you do that, when you look at buying companies, so for our listeners, they're always talking about like the accounts. Like the accounts you can go get if you work hard enough, but what kind of people do they have? And do those people allow you to grow your company, scale your company quicker? And do they bring skill sets and things in that are tough to find? You can get some really good people that way.
It's always difficult to hire or buying out the smaller guy. And typically you're exactly right. You want that guy because you just want them. The accounts aren't worth anything, and people always think that their accounts are worth so much more than they are.
It's a tough conversation.
Typically, if you're buying out a sole proprietor, a guy that does it himself with his, with one employee, they're not doing business with Perfect Cut. They're doing business with Kory Ballard,
Right.
and that's the way it typically works with those smaller companies. And those guys just think that those accounts are worth so much more, and they're just not.
Yeah, I have those conversations more often because it seems like a lot of guys are trying to sell last year, especially, and they're like, "Man, I'm doing $2 million in revenue. I think I can sell my company for $2 million." And I'm like, "What?"
And they owe 1.8.
I'm like, what was your net? Let's talk about EBITDA. What was your net? And I've had some tough conversations where I'm like, "Listen, Mike, your company's not worth much. Mm-hmm. You profited you profited 4% last year on $1 million, dude. You're not making any money."
Yeah.
Well, I know, but we did $1 million. I know, but you're not making any money. I don't care about the top line. You're not making enough money, and so. Those are tough.
In reality, it's worth the assets plus 1 or 2 weeks worth of mowing.
Yeah, it's not worth much. And I tell guys that all the time. I just had a conversation with a guy that's a brand ambassador for us. He was going to buy a smaller company, and what this guy wanted, I just said, I need to see their book. He kind of sent me some books and some numbers, and I said, here's what it's worth. You guys are way off. I'm like, his mowing's worth 1 month revenue tops. And I said, is it priced right? Does he have contracts in place? How long has he had the clients? What's the route density? Like, more importantly, how many people does he have, and do those people fit into your organization? Will that allow you to scale? The accounts might be a bonus, but I don't know how many times you've seen asset lists, but they're like, I got a 97 Ford, it's worth $32,000. Like, I'll give you zero for that truck. Right. How about you sell your assets? We're not interested.
How about if I pay an extra $5 and you keep the truck?
Yeah, I don't want we don't want your mowers, we don't want your trucks, we don't want your. We just, but yeah, we won't get too sideways there. Right. But it's interesting because people do think their company's worth a lot more than it really is. And in this industry, it's typically not.
Yeah. Marvin, you just said something in that last deal as well. How your time is the most valuable asset that you have. And I truly believe that as well. We've talked in one of the podcasts we had, somebody said, if you could buy anything, what would it be? And I'm like, more time, 100%. Yeah. And one of the things you do in speaking to that, you do some consulting work, if I understand that correctly, business coaching. And I think that's a great value to a lot of guys that know how to mow grass and know how to do the work, but don't know the business side of things. And you can certainly speed up your company within years, I believe, of having somebody like that. What are some of the things you're telling these guys? How many people have you helped with your coaching?
Oh, man. So I'm currently working with 21 different companies on a weekly or monthly basis. But I have helped tons and tons of people throughout the years, especially on acquisitions. And I've broken a lot of hearts. I've talked people out of buying several businesses because they get emotionally bought into the idea of buying a business.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, I've been there before. I overpaid for a company one time, and that I should have walked away at the signing table, but I was emotionally bought into the business, and it cost me $250,000. I ended up shutting the business down within 6 or 8 months, and I mean, it ended up being a virtual total loss for me. But no, I mean, I've done just like what Kory said. You know, I've helped people go through the buying process and evaluation process, and just taking everything line item by line item. Okay, what is this business actually worth? It's not until a business gets into the multi-millions and the owner is an absentee owner that the business really becomes worth a lot of money, and you can get the multiples on EBITDA. But before that, you're talking the assets plus a little bit of mowing, or a little bit of weekly or monthly revenue. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, you did. And I'm glad you mentioned it that way, because we've talked several times about how a business isn't worth anything if you're having to be there every single, and not that it's not worth anything, but it's an awfully tough sale if you're doing, like you just said, $1 million in revenue and you're bringing home, $40,000. That's a tough, I don't even know if you call that a business.
And especially if you're wearing all the hats, you don't have structure in place, you don't have a training policy, you don't have a hiring, you don't have recruiting and retainage and handbooks, and so there's not a lot of value. If you're wearing all the hats and they're doing business with just you, there's just not a lot of value there. And you hit it directly on the head. People, you have to be, I don't know about an absentee owner, but the company has to run without you. They have to be doing business with Brilliant Borders and not LeRoy Maines. They have to, somebody wants to buy that company, it's got to be a turnkey operation. And my wife calls me a dream crusher because when I have those conversations, I'm just super honest with people. But to your point, you get emotionally involved. And we made a $1 million mistake. We bought an erosion control company, 2008. Couldn't have got hit with a harder sucker punch. Right at the beginning of the recession. We lost $1 million on that deal. And probably 2 weeks before closing, we knew it. And we were fantasizing about how it was going to add this service line, and we were going to have more trust. We fell in love with the concept and the idea, and we just didn't. Our guts, both Matt and I, we both knew it wasn't the right fit. Walked into that deal, and just got hit with a sucker punch, a recession. Lost some of our best clients right away because they just closed down. And about a year and a half into it, we had to have a tough conversation where our CFO at the time just said, "You're losing $100,000 a month. How many more months you want to do this?"
Yeah,
and it was like. He goes,
let's try a couple more.
He goes, next month it's going to be better. He goes, no, it isn't.
It always is.
And it was like, he goes, you'll be better off to park all the fucking trucks and just make the payment. He goes, just park everything and make the payment.
You'll make more money by killing it.
You won't lose $100,000.
Yeah, he goes, the payment on the business is $25,000 a month. He goes, just park the trucks, you'll be $75,000 a month ahead. And so we had to have an auction, and we still offered some of the services, but it was humbling, and we had to get really honest with ourselves. But to your point, guys fall in love emotionally. They start fantasizing about how this is going to look, and they're going to be bigger, and then they take some of the logic out. So if you're looking at buying a company, you're doing a small acquisition, a big one, use somebody, whether it's Marvin, use somebody that's done it, that understands the process, that's going to look at it without emotion. They're not going to be connected to it. And some of the best deals you walk away from, man, I can tell you some of the deals that got close that we walked away from were the best. We got luck. I don't know if it was luck, but sometimes you think it's a heartbreaking at the time, and you look back and go, God, I'm glad they didn't go through.
Well, and not only that, then, like you referred to as well, Marvin, you come in and you add all this business and you add all these new employees to your business, and then you don't put any project management or anything to check on these people behind it, and then you end up with a nightmare of shitty work out there, and you're doing shitty work everywhere all over the city, and that doesn't work either. So you've got to remember, you got to put those things behind.
And then that ruins your reputation, and then nobody wants to work with you.
Yeah, it just continues to snowball.
I got a question for you on consulting. I don't do it anymore. I did it for a couple of years, and it was frustrating. You're working with 20 companies at a time. Where I struggled, Marvin, was I would talk to these guys, and each week we'd go through the things they were going to do, and I'd talk to them the next week or even monthly, some of them, and I'm like, hey, did you do X, Y, and Z like we discussed? Man, I'm just buried. I haven't done anything you asked. And I a couple different times I said, I don't know why you're paying me. You're not doing what we talked about. well, I'm buried. I've got to go put out fires. I said, but you're buried and putting out fires because you didn't do the things that we discussed. Remember, we were going to put X, Y, Z in place so that you could get your time back. And several times, I remember one good-sized company in Colorado Springs, I just said, I'm going to give you your money back. This isn't working for either one of us. And when you're ready to grow and you're ready to make some changes, contact me. Do you have guys that you have to say, hey, man, I don't know what you're doing here, but we got to do the things we talked about?
Yeah. At the end of the day, I'm not their mama. I'm not their daddy. I can't make them do anything they don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And if they choose to keep paying me just to have access to my knowledge, that's fine. I can only help them as much as they allow me to help them. And I do. I help them as much as I can, but I can't do the work for them.
Right.
Now, if they want me to do the work for them, that's going to cost them some equity. I'll get in there, I'll hustle, and I'll make it grow. Because I'm good at growing businesses. That's what I do. But that's going to cost them some more money and cost them some equity. But at the end of the day, I can't make them do what they don't want to do. I'll help them as much as I can. But if they don't want to be helped, there's not a thing I can do about it.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of information out there. Guys, we talk about that a lot. There's podcasts and YouTube and a lot of people talking about how to grow your business. So be cautious on who you follow and what you listen to. I mean, I'm a little frustrated right now with all the stuff going on right now out there in social media, and I don't mean to I'm not dogging on any one person, but man, there's just a lot of information out there. How to grow your company, and I'm like, why don't you grow yours first? I'm like,
whoa, shots fired! Look out, everybody!
Shots fired. But I'm like,
it's the truth bomb.
That has been one of the biggest things that has frustrated me about social media and in the green industry is there's a lot of people, I call them posers. There's a lot of posers out there. They talk a big game. They're really good at social media.
Yep.
They're really good at growing a brand presence. But most of the guys who are out there who have big businesses don't have time for that because they're out there and they're hustling. They're getting the work done. They're actually growing big businesses. And, I've seen them. You've seen them. We've all seen them. Of guys who say, hey, here's how to grow your business to $1 million or $1 million plus. And they don't even have $1 million business. Get out there and grow your business. Prove it. Show me that you know how to do what you're telling me to do. Show it to me. That was one of the biggest reasons why I waited to even get into consulting, because I wanted to prove I knew what the crap I was talking about before I started telling other people to do it. I can say, and here's how you do it in theory. No, this is what I did. This is how I did it. These are the exact steps I took to grow my company. This is what I suggest you do. Cut the fat here, do this, do that, and you'll grow.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I just had a conversation this morning about it, and I said the guys that are running successful companies aren't the ones on Instagram telling you how to grow your business, because they're running their business. They're successful. They're working on their business. They don't have time to do all this bullshit. And so the guys that are actually running $3, $4, $5, $10 million companies, they're not out there trying to tell you how to get to $1 million, because they're busy running their company, taking care of their people, growing their company, recruiting great people.
They don't care if you get to $1 million. Really.
They don't care. And so, yeah, again, I'm not harping on anybody. I'm just a little frustrated with that as well. And again, it doesn't mean it's all bad, because there's a lot of young guys young and old, starting up businesses, and there's a lot of good information for them and templates to use for bidding and employee contract or employee handbooks and contracts. But just be cautious on who you're listening to and what's going on out there, because I don't know. I'll get off my soapbox.
We might have just found our little promo clip video.
Promo clip, fucking people. It's wearing me out, man. I'm so tired. I'm so worn out a little bit. I'm like, what do you can't tell me. I don't know.
We're going to have to mute Kory here in just a second.
Grow your company first. Yeah. And get back to me.
Marvin, one question we ask everybody that comes on the Green Grind, and we typically close with this thing, and I'm going to ask you, what is the best business advice you've ever been given?
Ooh. I can't answer that with just one, but I've got two.
We'll give you two.
Worry about yourself. So there's so many people that they get out there and they're looking at what's Kory doing? What are you doing? 100%. What are you doing? And they're looking at everybody else and how can I compete with the Joneses? Don't worry about them. Worry about yourself, boo-boo. Don't worry about what they're doing. And I tell you, I was guilty of that myself. When I started over 6 years ago, and I'm looking at the success that I walked away from, there was a lot of envy and a lot of frustration and hate and that I had to deal with within myself. And I was like, you know what? That's not my monkey. That's not my circus. I'm going to keep my head down and I'm going to do myself. You do you, boo boo. And that's what I did. I kept my head down and I focused on the grind. And then the other thing is insurance is cheap no matter how much you pay. Get out there, make sure you have business insurance, because there's so many people that they screw up. They do one project, they get in one accident, and they end up going bankrupt over it. Insurance is cheap no matter how much you pay.
Awesome. That's good stuff. We talk about that a lot because I can tell you I was guilty of it, Leroy. I said, you know, I was so worried about how many got this. They got a new truck and they got a new truck and oh shit, they got account X and we didn't get that. I spent so much time worrying about everybody else, and when finally we said, let's just fucking focus on what are we good at? Who are we? Yeah. What are we good at? And when we did that, man,
I used to drive by accounts after we would lose them to see who we lost
me
it
too.
to. Like, what the hell? Who cares? I mean, how pathetic is that?
I would go around and take pictures because I wanted to tell them, like, hey, that we used to edge weekly, and now that the company you hired Joe's, and Joe's not edging, and no wonder they were cheaper. I wasted
so much time.
So many sleepless nights worried about all this other shit, and it didn't. And none of it mattered. But
nope. Awesome.
Hey, Marvin, how do our listeners find your company? You, if they're interested in reaching out and seeing what you guys are doing as a company, website. How do they reach out to you if they're interested in consulting? How do they find you, buddy?
My business, it's salcidolawn.com. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Marvin Salcido. That's SALCIDO. And I'm in the process of launching my consulting business. It's growmybiz.coach.
Awesome.
And that website will be active hopefully in the next month or so.
Awesome. Perfect. And they can see some cool hot rods. You got some cool trucks. I'm a little bit jealous.
I saw some of those things.
Oh man, so I've got a 1948 Ford, and we put it in a car show this past Saturday, and we won first place.
I like
Congrats.
it.
Awesome.
And by the way, it's your exact company color, right?
It is.
Everything I see is exactly.
It was strategic. I bought it strategically because you know what? It is a billboard. I can't tell you how many times a day people stop me. They take pictures of my trucks. Who knows how many hundreds of photos I'm in all across our city because of my trucks. I've got a 48 Ford, a 51 Ford, a 66 Volkswagen truck. I've got a giant, I call it my monster truck. It's a F650, but they're all billboards. And, people, they stop, they take pictures of us, they notice us from my vehicles.
Yeah, Perfect. That's awesome. All right, guys, we're going to wrap this one up. If you, we appreciate you guys listening. We drop a new episode of The Green Grind every Tuesday. If you want to be a guest or know somebody that wants to be a guest, if you jump on the Ballard website, you'll see the Green Grind logo. You can just fill out a quick questionnaire. It comes right to me. It emails me. Makes my job a little easier. So jump on there. You can find The Green Grind on Facebook, Instagram as well. And Marvin, we certainly appreciate your time. This has been a great episode. I hope you guys learned some things, and I'm certain your company's going to continue to grow, man. You got a good thing going on, and we appreciate you giving us some insight.
Thanks so much, Marvin. Appreciate it, man.
My pleasure.
Have a good day. Take care, man.
Thanks.